Yo, boys, welcome back. An episode about remote America. First of all, shout out. As you know, we're not a Los Angeles-based podcast anymore. Looking for a new wife, and by I mean a new beer. Trying tonight, Simply Spiked Lemonade. I would not recommend it. This is easily the worst thing I've ever had in my life. Still looking for a new Modelo. If you've got ideas, slide into our DMs. More importantly, though, Zubby Badger, you're back. You've been carrying a lot of water for us lately, but you're looking happy, healthy, richer, and wiser for having done it. Pratik, actually, being the far-thinking fellow that he is, insisted that we bring you on to kind of catch people up on what's happening in Alaska, a state that most of us don't think about unless one of Sarah Palin's family members is getting in a snowmobile crash while intoxicated, which sort of brings us to the election for the vacant House seat up there in the Great Northern Woods. So maybe this is where I'll just quote from CBS News, and we can get into the story that's sort of happening as we speak right now. Does that sound okay to you? All right. Okay. So CBS News. I don't know that we quote from CBS a lot. Sarah Palin, this is the field of candidates, Republican businessman Nick Begich. Interesting that they call him a businessman and not a member of a Republican political dynasty. Sarah Palin, Republican businessman Nick Begich, and Democrat Mary Peltola are on the special election ballot. While Palin, in her first campaign since she was the 2008 Republican vice presidential nominee, was the top vote getter in the June primary for the seat, an Alaska survey research poll in July simulated the rounds of ranked choice voting and found that Palin would be eliminated in the first round of reallocation. So we've introduced a lot of characters here. I think maybe, Pratik, this is also where I sort of invite you to interrupt me. These are live markets that are trading. There's a great deal of money and volume on the table, but I think what do we have to talk about first, Pratik? Sarah Palin, ranked choice voting, or the Democrat Mary Peltola?
Well, I think, look, I mean, when Palin entered the race, it came as a surprise. She filed at the very end and did so reportedly at the behest of Donald Trump, who ended up endorsing her. Now, I and others kind of looked at Palin's early unfavorability ratings and thought, well, she'll start out ahead and kind of fizzle out. That proved not to be the case, so I had to sell off my shorts on Palin. There was also a thought that Begich would be in a very good position because the Alaska Republican Party basically, and to some degree the Republican establishment in the state writ large, threw their support behind Begich. Now, that turned out not to pay off. Begich is effectively finished now. So the race right now, for reasons I think Zubby can explain with the ranked choice voting, as of this recording, is down to Palin and Peltola. The markets regard Palin as about a 79% favorite, but Peltola is trading in the 20s. Now, why it's these two, I think, can be explained by ranked choice voting, and Zubby,
right.
You can probably do a better job than I can of
Pratik, being the consummate diplomat you are, you sort of ducked what I'm trying to sow, which is conflict. Conflict's good for storytelling. And I was really hoping that Zubby would say that ranked choice voting is the real story here, and all of these candidates with their reality TV shows and political dynasties are actually side players in the saga. So I don't know, Zubby, are you on Team Keen Dog here?
Sure. Yeah, no, I'll take that.
That's not full-throated.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a really interesting race. I'll just say, last night when every, reporter was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, just using an excuse of an election to get a free vacation to talk about Liz Cheney or whatever, this is a way more interesting race, a lot more variables involved, and I'm glad we're talking about it. So, like Pratik said, there are three people in this race now. Mary Peltola is in first with 38% of the vote. Sarah Palin, who I assume most people know, yes. Is in second with 31+% of the vote. And Nick Begich, another Republican, is in third with 28-ish% of the vote. Nick Begich is very, very likely going to get third place in the initial round of voting. They are still counting votes. That's really important. The votes coming in are going to be absentee votes mostly, and they will probably lean towards the Democrat more. So Peltola's share should go up. The way go ahead.
So like the fur trappers up in like the Denali range and like the bankers living in New York mailing in their ballots will come in for the Democrats.
Yeah, exactly. To bankers in New York and natives in Nome. That's what's coming in for the Democrats.
So we're still sort of dancing around the ranked choice voting thing, and I think this is important because it's new. So what is going on? So my understanding is this is sort of like Dungeons and Dragons meets March Madness, where the grand poobah of vote counting counts the ballots, and it's like a mini round of elimination until they roll the dice enough times and everyone's been eliminated except for one candidate or something, or some weird. Is it more transparent than that? Like what's happening here? What's the process?
So the way it works is a candidate needs a majority to win the election. So Nick Begich is in third place. We think he's going to get 29% of the vote. All of the people who voted for Nick Begich ranked or didn't. That's important to know too. But they were supposed to rank their second and third choice votes. So Nick Begich is eliminated. Those who, his voters, whoever they rank second will get those votes. So if like 2/3 of his voters rank Palin second, and 1/3 of his voters rank Peltola second, then Palin will get 2/3 of Nick Begich's votes, and Peltola will get the other third.
Right. And so this keeps cascading down round by round until, so this is where it gets complicated, right? So it's the third round and their first two choices have been eliminated and their third choice was also eliminated maybe, so their vote doesn't count, or is like
yeah, so in like something like this happened in the New York City mayor election where they had the option of ranking 5 candidates, and then if it got to the end and none of their candidates were none of the candidates that the voter ranked were still in, then like that ballot is called spoiled. It's exhausted. Yes. Like that's what. So in this case, though, with 3 candidates, that would only happen if a Begich voter didn't rank a second place candidate.
Okay.
So but because this is very new, this hasn't been done before, and Begich and Palin were both sort of attacking each other, there is a maybe higher chance that some Begich voters might have decided to sit out the ranked choice process.
Got it. So you, am I correct in saying that you have been kind of betting on the black swan here, that Peltola, the Democrat, actually wins this race because there's sort of mutually assured destruction between the 2 Republican frontrunners?
Yeah, basically. I would call it a shoot the gap, perfect black swan scenario, in that it's the first time they've ever done ranked choice voting. The Democrat is probably going to clear 40% of the vote, and the 2 Republicans were going to be so close to each other that the Democrat would be ahead as much as she possibly could be going into the ranked choice voting. So that was sort of the baseline I was dealing with. And then you sort of bring in Sarah Palin, who, this is just my opinion, but I think everyone knows who she is. And if you're not ranking her first, I think there's a decent chance that you might not be ranking her at all, or second. I think that like either you're with her or you're against her. People in Alaska, from like reporting that I've read from her polling numbers, are very angry with her, considering she just quit and just left Alaska. Yeah. She didn't really campaign there at all. She was campaigning with the My Pillow guy in Minnesota. So I just think
it's cold there too.
Yeah, it's good. It's similar vibes. I just think there was a lot here, where the Democrat was priced at like 8 cents or something, that it was worth getting involved.
Have you seen anything in the early returns so far to point you in any direction as how your bet is going?
No, I would say it's been like a median outcome. We need to see how many absentee votes there are, where Peltola lands. The higher the better. My random benchmark for her, and I'm not like the Iavec Charco Rubio type who has this all modeled out and has like a...
You're not running server space in like Taiwan to process the returns quicker than anyone else, is what you're saying?
No, okay, absolutely not. But my benchmark was Biden got like 42.5%. I think if Peltola could beat that, that would be a very good spot to be in. If she gets close to that, I think she has a pretty decent chance.
Well, you can backdoor into betting on Peltola winning this for just 20 cents right now, right? If you bet that the first round leader wins this race, that's 20 cents on predictor right now. That's not bad.
Yeah. So in all of those markets, there's that one. There's who will get second. And then there's the main market. Just if you're going to bet on this, take the cheaper one across the board. They gave you 3 ways to bet on this. Begich is not going to, in my opinion, I don't think Begich is going to come into contention in any of those. So it's just, if you think Peltola is going to win, bet on Palin to get second. If you think Peltola is going to win, bet on whoever led in the first round to get first. If you think the opposite, bet the other way. You have, and don't pay up just because it's in the main market. It's definitely not.
And do you know when we'll get meaningful returns in?
Yeah, so this is ridiculous, by the way, but so all early votes that were cast after Thursday will be counted next Tuesday. I have no idea why. That just...
It takes a long time for the sea otters to swim in from the Bering Sea with the votes or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The otters.
Got to come over on mooseback.
And then all absentee ballots can't be counted at all until next Tuesday, but they could be counted and received as late as 2 weeks from yesterday. So we're looking at, and also what everyone should know, and this is why I kind of, as like this might not go the right way, but as a trading strategy, I don't think you're going to be harmed in the next week by being on Peltola. Is that it's not like we're going to get updates on the ranked choice result right. As these votes are coming in. They would have to count every vote before they run the ranked choice voting, and then it's just going to be instant death. You're going to see the tweet, and they're going to tell you who won.
So let's put a fine point on this. So a lot of times, like what I would want to extract from you is when, and I think that's what Pratik's getting at, is when is the right time to bet? Because the returns come in every state in their own unique way. But you're saying this is not like the Gryffindor house. This is not the Slytherin house. There's not a sorting hat that's going to come down into the Alaska State House and sort of eliminate one candidate a week or something. We're just going to know the result. And the game is just to interpret what we can see on like the Secretary of State's page to give us an idea of what the result is in advance.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That sounds hard.
Yeah. No, it is. I don't think whatever the odds are now of 20%, I think that's low. Would I say Palin's favored? Probably, but barely. I wouldn't put it much higher than like 60 or something. And I just think there's anybody who tells you they know how this is going to go. They just
everyone in the predicted comments section knows how it's going to go.
The predicted comments are rough in that market. Yeah. People are like calling it dead, like ripping on the pollster. The polls were pretty good as far as I could see. They're going to get the Democrat pretty much right. And that's another thing we should say. The one polling company that like doesn't have a great track record, but appears to have done pretty well in this election. They had Peltola beating Palin in the re-ranking of Begich's voters. So that's just another data point to take in, and that they basically had the Begich voters going almost like 2-1 towards Palin, but Peltola had enough of a lead that it was good enough.
Interesting.
So it sounds like the argument for Peltola here, you've made a few different points. One of which is that a lack of familiarity with this process could swing it. Are you also making assumptions in terms of what the national environment is? Like, do you think that because we're in a relatively friendly democratic moment that might swing it, or you think this is more of a local issue?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think the environment looks about even right now, based on polls and other special elections. So I think the Democrat getting towards 41, 42 is just pretty reasonable. Yeah, and then just like the candidates involved, just Palin being such a specific candidate who everyone knows and everyone had the opportunity to vote for in the primary, a lot didn't, and then rank first, and a lot clearly didn't. And then the other guy's name is Nick Begich, and his grandfather,
he's a senator, right?
His grandfather was the first congressman, or was a congressman in Alaska. His uncle was a senator. Did 1% of his voters go, I like the Begich family, and I hate Palin, and I don't know. That's what I mean. Like, I don't think anybody analyzing this can tell you how those voters ranked. And because of that, I think the candidate sitting in the 40s, where I think she'll likely end up, is a good place to be for pure. And finally, for pure trading purposes, her total is just going to go up as time goes on. Like, the absentees are going to come, her total is going to go up.
Right.
Maybe the market will have a perfect read on what happens there, but if she jumps like a couple percentage points when those early votes come in, then I think you could swing trade that at the very least.
Well, and 20 cents a share is a lot less money to lose than 80 cents a share. That's a lesson you learn in this is risk. Yeah.
Well, people who got in early on Peltola, I mean, if this hits, this could very much be like trade of the year territory. I mean, I made a little bit of money on Peltola very early on just because the markets weren't actually even anticipating that she would make the top 4. The only reason I put some money there is I figured just any Democrat, given the makeup of the state, had a pretty good chance of making it. But I never quite took Peltola seriously enough in retrospect, just because I saw her fundraising numbers and so forth. They weren't that good. I don't think she has too much of a major brand in the state, which, I suppose could be an advantage if there aren't negatives. But I didn't think she'd really bring the infrastructure and so forth. But it sounds like she, like you said, she may just kind of found the right moment. So I don't know. I was hoping Zubby would tell me that my shorts on her are safe, but it sounds like I should probably just sell those off and maybe.
Sounds like you got to just pay attention and do the hard work. That's the worst.
I know.
Zubby, you've been kind to join us. Do you want to weigh in and then say goodbye on behalf of the team here?
Great being here as always. And look, this is I love elections. This is not normally my go-to thing. And this would be my biggest win in any market ever. I got in on Peltola at 2 cents. So I'm eating the hopium, right, or drinking the hopium right now. But no, I think it's a very fun election. It's going to be a fun market, and I think there's a lot of upside still.
Well, as someone who has no money in this market, I'm cheering for you.
Thanks,
and, with all offense and consternation directed to the people on the other side of the bed. I know there are a lot of great traders on the other side. Sorry, Pratik, you want to take us home?
I was gonna say, just right before you leave, do you want to just comment on Murkowski? Is that one a done deal, or?
Yeah, she did great. I was blown away by that. Mostly because the Democrats just all voted for her. I mean, that was amazing. I think she is a 95% lock to hold her seat. And I kind of like, considering that 80% of her voters are people who voted for Biden, if there's some market on any exchange about Murkowski switching parties down the line, just put that in the back of your head, because I kind of think that might be in play, especially if like the Senate's close or something, and something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've seen those bets before.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to endorse that one. But right now she's trading at 88%. I think that's a bond. I would definitely get in at that price.
Easily, yeah. But I mean, I don't see the argument for how like maybe the environment just goes completely the other way. But I would endorse that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Zubby, thanks for joining as always, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.